Hey. I always have a little bit of difficulty. I only have one screen going right now, but hi, anybody who's there. Welcome to Summer Watering Strategies. We're going to give it just a minute for attendees to join in. But you're joining us tonight to learn about how to maximize water in your garden for the heat of summer and how you can help your plants stay healthy and vibrant. Our instructor tonight is Shelby Tao, and we'll be starting in just a moment. And Shelby, I don't know, can you see the participant window if we're having, oh, we've got 10 people on right now. Okay.
We have 10. Actually 9.
Okay. I'll just go ahead and start the intro slides and our presentation will begin in a few minutes. For those of you participating today on Zoom, we would love to have questions. We are going to hold all questions for the end. And please do put your questions either in the Q&A or in the chat. And I'll go ahead and go through them with Shelby at the end of the presentation. And do know that this webinar is being recorded. So if you miss anything in your notes, don't worry. You can go back and watch it at a later time and fill in the gaps. For those of you not familiar with BOSCA, it represents a number of agencies throughout the San Francisco Bay Area that provide 1.8 million people with water. And those areas are in Alameda, Santa Clara, and San Mateo counties. And BOSCA works really hard to make sure that those agencies are all coordinating to ensure that we all have clean drinking water, that everybody's getting their fair share. And one of the reasons they have this landscape program is that we have found over time that the majority of residential water use goes to outdoors. And so the number one place we can save water is in our gardens. And so just by taking a class like this tonight and changing some of your little behaviors, you can really help save water across all of our Bay Area region. Some of the BOSCA programs you might be familiar with are Lawn Be Gone, to remove your thirsty lawn and replace it with water-wise plants. They offer $1 to $4 per square foot, depending on the municipality you're in and the cost sharing that your city provides. You may also be eligible for a rain barrel rebate. So that's definitely worth looking into, especially right now, since we're not in drought and you can actually harvest that good rainwater. And for those of you who are still using manual watering systems, you might consider switching up to a smart controller irrigation system. They're weather-based, they're very efficient. It's kind of hands-off. You still have to be involved, but a lot of it is left up to science and technology. And so it's a lot more foolproof than the old systems used to be. And those rebate programs are really easy to apply for. It's one of the easier rebates. So I highly recommend those. And also, if you are on a piece of property that allows it, a rain garden can be a great way to sequester rainwater in your property instead of having it run off into the sidewalk or street. And that's basically just a shallow depression that's filled with the right kind of plants. And they have some really good instructions on how to create those. If you're not familiar with rain gardens, lots of gardeners know how to do them too. So it's definitely worth looking into. The city of Santa Clara is one of the higher rebate cost sharing opportunities in the county. So if you are a Santa Clara resident, you are eligible for up to a $5,000 rebate to switch out your lawn to a water-wise garden. And our rebates are actually through Valley Water. For those of you in Santa Clara County, rather than Alameda or San Mateo, Valley Water is your local water district. And just like with the BOSCA service area, the cost sharing varies from city to city. So do check with your own city to see what cost sharing you'd be eligible for. But Santa Clara residents can get $4 per square foot for the first 1,000 square feet up to a total of $5,000. So it's a very nice rebate. If you're looking into a landscaping project, South Bay Green Gardens has a lot of great resources. They have landscaper references, videos on how to do it yourself. For things like gray water, drip irrigation, native gardens, all kinds of different things. They have plant templates, landscape design templates, so it's a great place to get started. And this is one of my recent favorites, bayareagardening.org. If you go in there and take a look at different landscapes that have already been created, you can hover over plants. It'll give you information about what their water needs are, what their exposure needs are, the name of the plant if you're not familiar with it. So if you're just starting out in gardening, then it's a really good way for you to say, that really looks nice to me and I want to learn more about it. And you just hover over and get the information for those specific plants. We're almost at the end of the spring series, but there are a few more classes coming up. The last one is actually going on tonight, same as this class. But the last one is going to be gardening with succulents, which is always at HIT. And that's actually a planting workshop held on the 14th. So check that out if you're a succulents person. And I'm sure you won't be disappointed because those are always a hit with people. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and turn over our presentation to our instructor, Shelby Tell.
Thank you, Victoria. Let me share my PowerPoint. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our talk, Summer Watering Strategies. So summer is a very hot season, as everyone know, and summer watering strategy is something really important for water conservation. So we are going to talk about why it matters. Yes, we all know it matters, but exactly why, right? We are going to look into that a little bit. And then find out the factors that will impact water efficiency, irrigation efficiency, and then how you can check and upgrade your irrigation system, and then talk also a little bit how if we convert lawn to native garden, that can really save like improve the water efficiency, irrigation efficiency. So why does irrigation efficiency matter? So because summer is really the hottest and driest season, especially so in our area. So we are in a Mediterranean climate zone where you can see that it's really dry, like no waterfall at all during summer, and all the water come in winter and springtime. It's a very special kind of condition globally. Only 4% of the area has this kind of like climate, where it's really so dry, coupled with the heat. So it makes summer really the peak season for the water needs. For a lot of the plants, including the lawns. So you can also see the temperature, and it hits the highest during the summer season. So this 1-2 combo, right? No rain and high temperature really makes it kind of like for the plants. If they are not native, they really need a lot of water to survive this summer season. On top of that, in recent years, we have had quite some heat waves. We all know about those, right? The temperature went to close to 100 or even over 100. So during those heat waves, then everything was like double as worse, double dry and just even hotter. And it's not one off. This is a trend. So on average, the state has warmed by up to 3 degrees since early 1990s. And the rate of warming has accelerated. So last year, these 3 cities have the warmest summer in more than 100 years of record keeping. So and then scientists' consensus is that if we want to stop this trend, the fossil fuel pollution must be cut in half. All in all, it's dry and hot, and it will be even drier and hotter in the future if this trend continues, and it will continue. So all in all, it makes the conserving water during summertime even more important. So during the summertime, you can see that, right, to spray water like carelessly on a lawn like that, it would not cut it because again, we do not have we do not have the rainfall to support this kind of like water use. Instead, we can think about all kinds of irrigation strategies to hopefully reduce the water usage. Saving water is not um, it, is it's important for multiple factors. Of course, it saves water. That's everyone need that during the summertime. It can also save us money because the rate the water rate will kick in if you are on a higher tier. So it's a tier based. I think everyone knows that, right? So if it's under certain usage, it's one rate, but if the usage goes to the next tier, then it's another higher rate. So just to save money, you should also consider saving the water. So the irrigation really makes a big difference for water usage. If you look at this same house, but they changed their lawn to this native garden, the total household water usage was cut by 56%. So the landscaping irrigation can make big difference. If you want to find out how much water and money you can save, we have a calculator on our website. You can just go to waterefficientgardens.com, and right there on the homepage, you can see such a calculator, and you can just plug in this information, and then it will show you if you change from turf or lawn to a native garden, how much water and money you can save. So that can give you some idea how much saving you can achieve. Well, we talk about it matters because number one, it's summer and it's a peak water use season, and we really just need to save the water. And it can save. It's also beneficial for us. It save us money, and also can also the plants can also be doing better if we are going to talk about it in 1 second, but the good irrigation can also support healthier plants. Another one is that it can help us meet the local restrictions and environmental goals. This year, we got quite some rainfall in winter and spring, so there's no such restriction. But back in 2022, when the drought was really bad, if you remember, Valley Water actually implemented this 2-day irrigation schedule. So that limits the watering to only 2 days a week. And some cities even just 1 day a week. So at those times it becomes it's not just we do it. It becomes a matter of we must do it. This year, luckily we are not. It's not so restrictive, but still, water saving is as essential as ever. When we talk about regulations, I also want to bring to everyone's attention, especially the people who live in a HOA, that the state passed this regulation, AB 1572, 2 years ago in 2023, where if the common areas of the HOA, if the turf is non-functional, meaning like no kids playing soccer on it, no one having picnic there, it's not serving any practical purpose. If it's only there for aesthetics, then it cannot be watered anymore with potable water beginning January 1st, 2029. In other words, if your HOA's common area is a lawn and if it's non-functional, no more watering with potable water after 2029. So the best way to do it is to, before the deadline, transform that lawn into a drought-tolerant landscaping. For the other properties, as you can see here, institutional, meaning all the schools, churches, non-profits, and commercial, like the company campuses, actually it's 2028. So yeah, it's these are all part of the regulation that the state moves us towards more efficient landscaping, including irrigation. Okay, so we talk about why it is important. Now let's look at the factors that impact the irrigation efficiency. Um, the number one important factor is the sun exposure, right? It's quite obvious. If it's a full sun versus an area under the tree, then with some half shade or even full shade, then the with a different level of evaporation. So full sun for sure will need more water. This is another example, right? It's the same house, but this is a front yard and this is a backyard. So a front yard like this, definitely these plants would need more water than the plants here, which is in full sun or full shade or half shade. The second factor, actually, I, I, I said that the sun was the most important factor. Actually, it's not. Plant type is the most important factor. Like what kind of plants they are. That actually is the number one important factor, followed by like sun exposure and other factors. So if you look at all these different plants, so UC Davis, they have this criteria called water use classification of landscape species, or WUCOS, that they look at all the plants in California and then categorize them into these four categories. As you can see, from high to very low. So the way they do it is to use all these plants and compare their water use level against the turf or cool season grasses. So those grass, like you can say, just say these grass is set at 100%. Their water use level is 100%. And all these other plants are compared against these grass. So as you can see, this grass, the turf grass, it's 70 to 90%, or so it's a very high water use. Okay, so sorry, everything again. So the grass, cool season grass is 100%, and then all these other grasses and plants are compared against that. And if their water use is 70 to 90% of this grass, then it's categorized as high water use. And then if like this plant, it's blue elderberry, its water use is about 40 to 60%, then it's categorized as moderate water use. Toyong, it's a low water use plant. So all these three are all native plants to our area. But then even among native plants, although majority of them are low water use plants, but some of them are still moderate or even high water use plants, like blueberry is moderate. And then the golden poppy is a very low water use plant. So as you can see, right, the high water use plants, obviously they need a lot of water. And that's why the turf it's so thirsty, because the type of the plant determines that they they are born that way, right? They just need that much water. And then the golden poppies, then they only need, you can see the number here, only about 10% or even lower compared to the grass. And that's where the water saving can come from. So if we want to have a efficient, water efficient landscaping, should we go for this one or should we go for this one? It's very obvious we should go for these low water use plants here. So because of this, we have this concept called hydrozone. That means that because they have different plants have different water needs, so we should group them in different zones. So depending on their water needs, we give them the different level of irrigation water. So if we put the low water use plants, group them in the with the other high water use plants, then if we and water them as high water use plants, then it's a waste of water, right? But if we um, water them as for the low water use plants, then these will be underwatered and will not survive. So the best way is to group them in a zone so that you can just give them the right level of water based on the different zones. So as you can see here, there's this piece of lawn, so it's zone 1, but all these others are drought tolerant native plants, then it's zone 2. So when we do the programming for the controller, that's how we can program different water frequency and different water times. This is another example. There's a vegetable bed. So obviously this needs more water than these other plants, the native and drought tolerant plants. So for example, for these two gardens, we should program them on the controller with different frequency and water time. This is a traditional controller, and this is a smart controller. So you can just have different runtime and different frequency zone. So each one's station corresponds to one zone. So we can have one dedicated schedule for just the lawn and another schedule for other plants. For example, for the lawn, in summertime, we will water it, for example, every day. But then for these native plants, we only need to water them once every week. So we can program them differently by using the controller. Okay, so the next factor is the soil type. So there are 3 big basic soil types, sand, loam, and clay. You can find out what kind of soil type your garden has. Just take a piece of the soil and then just try to make a ribbon. Add a little bit of water and then try to make a ribbon. So if the ribbon can be rather long, like be about your palm's width, then we can say it might be loam. But if it's very short or can barely make a ribbon, it's sand. But if it's very easy to be made into a ribbon and can be rather long, then likely it's a clay. Here in Santa Clara County, a lot of the soil type is clay. Why the soil type is important? Because if you determine the storage limit, so as you can see here, depending on different soil types, they have different storage limit. Sand has the lowest limit and clay has the highest. Pretty much loam and clay has the highest. If we keep water the same area, then if you reach its, we call it the field capacity, the upper limit, then that means that the soil cannot absorb that much water anymore. And as you can see, it will just run off. So, and that the runoff is a waste. So that's why we need to understand the upper limit of our the soil in our garden, and then avoid the overwatering. So let's take an example, right? For example, this lawn needs 80 minutes of watering a week. So if we say we will water 2 days a week, 2 watering days, that means it's a 40 minutes watering. But then from this chart, we know it can only take watering for 30 minutes. So that means that at the end of that 40 minutes watering, we will see a runoff like that. Instead, we should break that 40 minutes watering into 2 cycles. So 40 divided by 2 is 20 minutes per watering. So we, instead of run 1 cycle of 40 minutes, then we can do 2 cycles, 1 cycle for just 20 minutes. So for example, instead of doing 6 a.m. watering from 6 to 6:40, we can do 5 a.m. watering from 5 to 5:20, and then start again at 6 to 6:20. So that way, it's well under this capacity, so it will not have water runoff. On the San Jose Water Company's website, you can see such a watering schedule. So this is the recommended frequency and minutes per cycle. So in June, as you can see here, it's recommended we have 3 waterings per week. And this is the lawn and the soil type, and this is the equipment, suppose that you are using. Then this is the controller setting that they recommend. So for June, it's recommended you water 3 days per week, and then each cycle 21 minutes, and then 3 cycles in 1 day. So for example, if you start the first cycle at 5 a.m., then so you can do 5 a.m., 5 to 5:21, that's cycle 1. Then you do 6 a.m., so 6 to 6:21, that's cycle 2. Then you do 7 a.m. to 7:21, that's cycle 3. So that's how you can do the watering for June. Slope is another factor. Obviously, if it's on a slope, then the hills of the water will flow down, so you will also need more water than on a flat surface. The best time to irrigate or water is early morning, anytime from 4 to 8 a.m. That's the best time. Another good time is after 5 p.m. Um, we these times are good because the evaporation is at the weaker than like noon time or afternoon when it's very hot and evaporation effect is strongest. Compared with these two, early morning is better because say if you water at 5 a.m., then the sun will come out at 7 a.m. So the place will not stay moist for too long, and then the bacteria will not grow as strongly. But if you water at sunset like this, then the water will stay for full night, then the bacteria will grow in that kind of like environment more easily. Um, another another important principle to follow is that especially for native plants, water them deeply, but not frequently. So for fully mature native plants, you only need to water them even in hot summer, like once every 2 weeks or even once every month. So the good way to find out is to use this moisture detector like this and try to find out whether the soil is already dry. If it is already dry, then do a deep watering. Deep watering means that if you go so down to 8 inches. So that's because we are doing that because you can see the native plants have deep roots compared with the non-natives. If we always we do frequent watering, but just let it do for just a short time, so the water will just stay close to the surface, and the plants will not go deep down. We want to encourage the roots to go deep down into the soil. That's how that's how they behave in nature, and that's how we can save water in the long run, because that way we can instead of needing to water frequently, we only need to water when they really needed it. So yeah, the good way to do it is to use a detector, find out whether it's really dry, and if it is, then water it less frequently. Um, for people who are good at growing native plants, they always tell you that it's always better to underwater than overwater, because if it's underwater, you can pretty much still save them, but if it's overwater, they can really be killed off. I remember when I designed my first native garden. At first, they all did very well, but it was we planted the plants in fall. It's a fall garden, and they all did very well. But come summer, I noticed that one of these ceanothus started to have yellow leaves, and then bit by bit it just died off. After that, I realized that we did not change the watering frequency, and it's too much water for the ceanothus or lilac. As we can see right from that rainfall graph, uh, the native plants, they in California, they are accustomed to the very dry summer. So if you give them water, a lot of water during summer, it's not something they can take or can take well. So so they cannot cope with that, and that will really kill them off. I know it's counterintuitive, right? Like summer, we should just water them a lot of, give them a lot of water. But for, especially for California native plants, that's not true. In this case, less is really more. So yeah, that's something we really want to pay attention to for native garden, that we do not overwater in summer. So there are a lot of products we use in the irrigation system. The first is the controller. It's called the brain of irrigation because it's where we can control the frequency and the watering time for different zones. We have two types of controller. These traditional ones, it's only fixed. Everything's whatever you program them, they cannot be adjusted unless you change them. But then the smart controller, they are Wi-Fi enabled. So they can be connected to the local weather station and adjust automatically. So that's why it's called smart. And that's why it's better for water saving. For example, if it detects there's a rain or the weather station informs it there's a rain, then it will just cut off the watering so that the water will not be wasted during or after the just after the rain. Um, the controllers, you can, as you can see, this style have all these uh, different arms. Then you can just go into each one and program them. So here is where you can program different zones. The one we just talked about, zone 1 and zone 2, you can just keep pressing. So program A, for example, correspond to zone 1, and program B correspond to zone 2, and then program the different runtime and frequency. Um, that what this was the traditional one, and this is the smart one. Same idea where you can just go into each zone and program them differently. You can, it's a rebate item, so you can apply for the rebate and get a new one, and which can be fully covered by the Valley Water rebate. So you can find such a list on their website. Um, this is another product that you can also receive rebate. It's for the long irrigation. Irrigation nozzle, it has different degrees. So for example, 180 degree like this can just water the area, this area. So it won't say, if you put it at the edge of the lawn, right, it will just water the lawn area and will not water the other area, which is not a lawn. So if you, this way, if you make sure no water is wasted on this, if it's not a long area. Again, these are also covered by rebates. Um, this is a spray, so it's a fixed, just a sprinkler, but then rotor can rotate. Rotor is covered by rebate. So as you can see, I'm just copying the top part of this list. It's a long list, so any product that you can find on the list that you can receive the rebate. Um, make sure there's no leak in the irrigation system because that's definitely a lot of water waste if a leak happens. A good way to detect leak is to use a flow sensor. So it's this little black thing here. It's installed right next to the pipe, as you can see here, and it's connected to the controller. So if you use the flow sensor, it can analyze the flow of the water and compare that with the like the previous records. If there's a sudden hike, then if you detect and say, okay, it sounds like there's a leak, and notify you of a possible incident. So flow sensor, it's also covered by rebate. So it's a good idea if you, especially if you have a big lawn and use a lot of water. It's good for you to detect any possible leak and fix it right away. So this is the list that's covered by the rebate. We talk about the products and the controllers, and yeah, those can help us save water. But the really effective way to save water is to convert the lawn to a native garden. Um, so we talk about the example we just gave. Water saving was 56% before and after the garden. This is another garden. By the way, both gardens are in the city of Santa Clara. So it's exactly what can be achieved in the city. So here it's also, you can see before and after, the water usage went down by 50%. Again, the native plants, because they only use about 10% or even less compared with the turf. So that's why they can save so much water. Like this white sage, coyote mint, their water usage is really low. Once they are established, you may, even in summer, they only need a little bit water. So in addition, they have a lot of the biodiversity benefits. They both can attract a lot of bees and many other native plants, like the native milkweed. It can provide the food for the western monarch butterflies, and hummingbird. The fuchsia can provide food to the hummingbirds. So the native plants, not only can they save water, but also like help provide food and shelter to the wildlife and keep our environment, the biodiversity thriving. So for both reasons, it's highly recommended that we change a lawn to a native garden. Um, another big reason the native garden can save water is that instead of sprinkler, we use drip. Um, this is an emitter of a drip irrigation, or you can use a drip line where you can see the hose for at a set distance, say every uh, 1 foot or 18 inches. So if we plant plants at every 1 foot, then that's how those plants can be watered. Um, the drip irrigation is the really why the native garden can save so much water. Um, that's the that's the irrigation method we use for native gardens. For a tree, we also do drip irrigation, but usually we do it in the rings like this, so that the water can be distributed quite evenly across its root zone. For the big trees, we usually do multiple rings all the way to its canopy line, so that the whole root zone can be fully covered, so it can be watered uh, adequately during summer. One thing to note is that when we get rid of the lawn, sometimes we also reduce because we use drip irrigation. If the tree is grown in the lawn, they might not receive as much water. So one way to address that is to give dedicated water and station just for the tree, so that it can be on its own schedule and its own watering time. For the garden, for example, right, we only need to water it once every 2 weeks and maybe for 10 minutes, for example. But for the tree, we really need to give it enough water. So let's say if we water it once every 2 months in summer, then because it has its own station, we can program it to water it for up to 1 hour, for example, so that to make sure it can receive enough water. Mulch is another reason such garden can reduce water use. It can reduce the water evaporation, and it can also help the growth of the plants. The organic mulch, like wood chips, they will dissolve into the soil over time and make the soil more fertile. That's also another benefit that it can provide. So yeah, that's the today's talk. So this is my contact information. Feel free to send any questions if you have any, and I would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Shilpi. That was wonderful. We do have a question. Somebody has been so patient. They asked at the very beginning and they've been waiting all this time. And the question is it possible to design a garden with native plants that don't need watering at all after the plants are established, relying only on rainfall?
I think it's possible. So I designed this Northwest YMCA community garden. Um, it's not We turned off the water like earlier this year. So putting this way, we just turn it when the winter rain comes, we turn it off. And this year we haven't turned on. Already now it's already June, but we haven't turned it on. So it's possible. The key is that select the right native plants, the low water ones, obviously, the local ones, and then you still need to establish them well in the first 2 years. In those first 2 years, you do need to water them well, and like the first 2 weeks, you pretty much need to water them every day. But then you can reduce down to like once every week, and then reduce down to once every 2 weeks or 1 month until they are established, in about year 2 or year 3. I won't say it's 100% water free. I think we still water them occasionally, especially when the heat waves come and those really hot time. But by and large, they are really uh, no water free now.
Well, and if I can chime in, I'm in Santa Clara and I have a yard with no irrigation system. And we established our Baccharis and the Dramacon and Arctostaphylos, like you say, over a period of 2 years, hand watering occasionally. And if I water it all during the summer, it's just like you say, if we're going to have a hot spell, I'll give it a deep soak early in the morning. That's maybe once or twice all summer. If we have a hot spell, otherwise I don't water it at all. And also the Jeffer's Choice Salvia does very well without summer water also. So it's definitely possible, like you said, if you choose the right plants.
Yep.
I can speak from experience.
Very good.
We have another question. When the city of Santa Clara planted a tree in front of my front yard, they installed an aeration tube. Should I use the aeration tube to water the tree?
How close is the tube to the tree?
Didn't mention here, so hopefully they will chime in.
Usually, mhm.
I've seen that with some of the city street trees. What's your take on aeration tubes in general?
Overall, I think that's fine. I asked how close. Basically, we just want to avoid the water is kind of like spraying against the directly to the trunk. That's the worst. But if that's why we really encourage the soak line. That's the right way to water trees. But if the water do not go to the trunk directly, I think that, and it's not like too close to the trunk, I think that should be fine.
Those were the only questions we had so far tonight.
Mm.
Was there anything you would like to add in closing? I just wanted to say thank you because every time I listen to your presentations, I always learn something, and I had forgotten about field capacity. And when you've mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, horticulture school. So thanks for refreshing my memory about that. But it's been a very informative presentation.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And if we don't have any other questions, it looks like we might finish for this evening. So again, there are a couple more Bosco classes coming up. If you're interested, please do check out the Bosco website to register. And otherwise, I hope you had a good takeaway for your summer watering and your gardens stay lush and beautiful thanks to the wonderful information provided by our excellent instructor. And have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Thank you.